listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Dr. Cali Estes with Unpause Your Life. I am so excited today. You guys know this is way above my pay grade, so I'm excited. My guest today is Jonathan Green, and I'm excited to talk about ChatGPT, as I'm sure you're all excited to listen. He is an expert at using artificial intelligence, we call that AI, right? Tools to accelerate your online business. He's the best-selling author of ChatGPT Profits, has a mailing list of 100,000 subscribers, and hosts a podcast with 250 plus episodes. He has been running an online business full-time since February of 2010, and he's an expert in using ChatGPT, Midjourney, Claude, and Leonardo to grow your online business. He helps entrepreneurs leverage AI to generate real revenue quickly and start replacing their existing 9-to-5. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So first, tell my listeners, what is ChatGPT? What is going on with AI? What is all this stuff? Because some of us old school dinosaurs are trying to do, Google SEO with blogging and all of that stuff.
Sure, ChatGPT is just a modern tool that generates words for you. It's a word generator or a text model that people are using to create content, create ideas, and brainstorm with. And over the next 30 minutes or so of this chat, I'll show you exactly how you can use it to get more work done faster, more efficiently, and get 5 days of work done in 3 days every single week.
Oh, wow. That would help all of us, because a lot of us listening, we wake up and our calendar is like, I'm booked every hour today. Like, I would love to learn that. So tell me this, though. I believe you are, if I'm correct, you are somewhere living your best life in the South Pacific. Tell me where you are.
Yeah, so I live in a small island off the coast of Thailand, and it's the world is so much more connected now than we realize. There's this idea that if you're far away, it's like it was in the 1980s when I grew up. When you made a long distance phone call and you'd hear an echo, or it would cost $5 a minute if you called your grandma. But I have gigabyte internet. My backup internet's 250 megabytes. We have access to two other backup networks behind that that are both very, very fast. We'll be able to do this call. So we now have the ability to run our business from anywhere in the world. And all of these AI tools are really democratizing what's possible with software. What's really nice is that the cost of software has really gone down over the past 2 years because ChatGPT, the pro version, is only $20 a month. And a lot of other tools were charging hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month. And they said, oh, we better drop our prices too, or we're going to go out of business. So it's really become a much better market for people that want to run their business and want to run it remotely. And there's so many amazing opportunities out there that are becoming more and more prevalent.
So so let me ask you this. What's the difference between ChatGPT and say like any kind of like old school SEO with blogging or things like that? Give us the difference. Like, what is it really?
ChatGPT is a guesser. It's a magic 8 ball that guesses what the next word is going to be when it's giving an answer. On a core level, it gives what it thinks is the most likely answer to the question you're asking based on all of the data it's been trained on. So it's read the whole internet, and that means that that's how it kind of determines what it will create. And there are pros and cons to this. One of the cons is that as Google found out, if you train on a bad data set, you'll end up with bad data. That's why Google's AI for a while was saying that it recommended eating one small rock a day because someone had said that as a joke on Reddit, and AI can't detect humor. It also recommended to make your pizza cheese stickier, you should use a little bit of Elmer's glue, and the cheese will stick to the pizza even better. So its inability to detect sarcasm and dry humor can trick an AI. So you end up with good and bad because most data on the internet is bad. Most websites are bad. Most books never get read. There's a small percentage of websites that are good that we've heard of, but think about how many people made a website when they're in the AOL days or in the early 2000s that you couldn't turn the music off, it had flashing animation, and the colors were unwatchable. All of those websites are out there, and that data still affects it. So the best way to think of it is as a tool that will work cooperative with you, that's the best way to get good results. So a lot of people think of it, the best use case is writing blog posts, and that's the worst use case. The worst use case of an AI tool is to generate content. What it's really, really good at is analyzing data, brainstorming with you, and working collaboratively. So an example is if you have a website with 20 posts, you can take a picture of your SEO data or your traffic data and say, ChatGPT, based on this image, what should I do for my next 10 blog posts? And it will analyze it in a way that most of us can't, because most of us are terrible at statistics. Most people can't tell how many people are in a room, or if you say to someone, what is your best selling product? A lot of people will choose the product they like the most and is actually the least profitable. So ChatGPT is unable to emotionally look at data, it only looks at analytically. So it removes all emotion. And this is really important because business is a democracy, as in our customers get a vote. As an author, I've written 100, almost 300 books or a little over 300 books. And my favorite books, my audience hates. So I can't predict what will happen with our book. I can write a book I think is amazing. And sometimes it's just a myth. People don't resonate with it. And then other books I've written that I also think are good, people really like. So you don't know until it gets out there into the world, but your emotions will affect your decision making. And one thing that ChatGPT is really good at. And additionally, it's really hard to accurately assess stuff because most of us didn't study statistics. Most of us aren't good at spreadsheets. So if we didn't do that in high school or college, it fills in that gap and it never gets it wrong. Whereas when it's writing a blog post for you, there's a possibility for error.
Okay, so this is so interesting. So it's using, the more important thing is to use it as an analytical tool, not as a blog writer, which I think 99.9% of us are doing. So it can kind of analyze your data. How does that work with like voice, like Alexa and Siri and getting voice activation? How does that work?
All that's happening is it's just adding one step to what it does. So there are three ways to communicate with ChatGPT. There's an additional way where I'm on my computer, I'm typing. Then they added the ability to I speak and I can see the text I'm saying in the box and then I push send and it transcribes it. The newer version, which they call real-time voice, just hides the transcription, but that's what's actually happening. So it takes the audio, runs it through its transcription algorithm, and then responds to that data. It's still responding to text data. We just don't see it doing that because it's doing it fast enough that it seems like a person. It's doing it at a fast enough rate.
Got it. Okay. So I know you have a program online on how to learn ChatGPT in like 60 minutes. How do you fast track all of this stuff? Because this to me is overwhelming. Like the internet is overwhelming. I deal with people, I deal with drug addicts, and I get people sober, and that's what I do. So tell me how you fast track something like this.
So ChatGPT and all of these AI tools are built by tech nerds like me. And the problem is, as I'm sure if you've ever met the person who works in IT, which used to be me, they're not very good at communicating. They're good at building, but not very good at expressing themselves. So the best builders of ChatGPT are high nerd, and thus users of ChatGPT are high creative women by a country mile. So the
Really?
reason, because, and here's the trick, I can always tell when someone's a good ChatGPT user because they will tell me two things. The first thing they'll say is it always gets the answer right, and then they have named it. Every single woman I've ever met who has a nickname for ChatGPT is a better user than me. So all I do is try and translate what I learned from these conversations. And the reason they're so successful is because they treat it like a friend, which is what it's programmed to do, and they're always in collaborative mode. So they will say, ChatGPT or George, how are you doing today? They always give it different names like George or Freddie or sometimes female names, and they treat it like a friend. And because they activate a particular part of its programming set, they get really good results because they're working together. Whereas most of us treat it like a tool, and so we're kind of giving it commands. And when it doesn't do what we want, we get mad at it, like when we shout at our dog. When you're in this particular collaborative mode, and there's a way to activate this, which is very simple. And the way to switch into collaborative mode is to say, ChatGPT, here is my goal. One sentence. I want to write a blog post about this. I want to figure out what to write on social media. I want to get better at learning French. What information you need from me? As soon as you do this, it reprograms the way ChatGPT activates and it moves from the mode where it depends upon you to write the perfect prompt, where it now will tell you what information it needs because you've given it permission to ask you questions, which activates a different mode because in its default mode, it's trained for three things. Number one, to give the best result to the widest number of people. So it's designed to be bland, which means smart people will become dumber and dumb people become smarter. It averages everyone out. The second thing that it does is seek affirmation. So it will always say whatever it has to get you to say, good job. So in the same way that my children will lie to me to avoid getting in trouble. So my daughter's toy is missing. My son might say, well, it might be under the bed in the room in the basement. I have no idea how it got there, but I did see it under there. So they won't confess, right? Because they never want to get in trouble. And this is why people last year got in trouble. Lawyers got in trouble because ChatGPT would lie to them about case law. Because if you want affirmation, and this is very relevant to your industry. So if I say to ChatGPT, I think I have autism, here are my symptoms. ChatGPT will tell me yes because it knows that's what I want to hear because of the way I phrased the question. So as soon as you put your thumb on the scale, it will lie to you to give you affirmation. So it's very good. There's some studies where it's very good at diagnosis, but those are always filtered where a doctor asked the questions. Self-diagnosis is where people will let it know the result they want, right? And so that little wink or nod or just the way you phrase it will cause it to give you that answer because it's trained to seek affirmation. And the third way it's programmed is to assume you will never ask a second question. So you always get one chance to answer. So if I say to you, I'm thinking of going on vacation next week to France, what should I do? And you aren't allowed to ask follow-up questions. How good will your advice be? You don't know if I'm going by myself or by plane, by boat, by train, if I'm bringing my family, just my wife, bringing my kids. If you don't have that information, how could you possibly give good advice? So we need to break out of that mode to get really good results. So the idea, and there is an art to writing really complicated prompts, but that only moves you from an A to an A plus. Most people are happy with an A to get a really good result with 5 seconds of work by asking a question, by saying, this is what I want to do. Let's work together to get there. As soon as you do that, you're in collaborative mode, you're working together. And now instead of trying to ride a wild horse, you're two teammates pulling together in the same direction. And it's so much easier to get really good results.
So the trick to that is saying, hey, ChatGPT, I have a goal. This is my goal. This is what I'm trying to do. And then it will tell you what you need to do based upon your goal, as opposed to saying, I think I want to go to France. Is it a good idea?
Right. You just want to say, you want to give it permission to ask you questions. So you can say, this is my goal. What information do you need from me? It will now tell you the information it needs. Or you can say, this is my goal. Ask me questions and let's develop a plan on how to do it together. Get you the exact same result. So you're just saying, this is where we're headed. Let's have a conversation back and forth and figure out how to make this happen. And it will switch it into a much easier mode where now you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be the perfect prompt or ask words in the right order. It will ask you and say, oh, I need more information. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by this? And now you can get to the goal and it's the driving force. You're just answering questions and it's so much less stressful.
So let me ask you this question. How much authority does ChatGPT have over positioning for search engine optimization? Has it gotten there yet?
So search engine optimization is going to change pretty dramatically. A lot of people are using AI to write blog posts and they believe that they have tricked Google. I'll tell you this, Google's AI detection budget is in the billions of dollars. So whatever your AI trick Google budget is, it's not in the billions. They know. The way Google works, and this is the way most large organizations do, is when there's a cheating element and someone starts cheating, they don't stop the person on the first day. You wait for a few months so that everyone who would cheat starts doing it and you know the cheating method. And then you get them all on the same day. You catch them all from the same trick. And this is how like large video games catch cheaters. They always have a purge day. So Google does a purge every 3 months. They just did one recently, and they haven't done their big AI one yet. They're just moving things into position. But what you're going to see is that all of these websites that are using AI generated content will get purged on the same day because people do not want to read AI generated content. And a lot of people have this ability to detect it in some ways because most people who are doing this are doing it lazily. It's okay to use AI enhanced content. When I say AI generated content, I mean you have ChatGPT write a blog post and you upload it without reading it, which is what a lot of people do. As soon as you do that, you introduce a huge amount of risk into your business because if ChatGPT says anything wonky, anything weird, anything untrue, it can be devastating. This is what happened to Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated about a year and a half ago, basically they went bankrupt again because they posted a blog post which had the incorrect rules for volleyball. They had been writing tons of content with ChatGPT, and they had created a bunch of fake people with fake bios and fake email addresses that were writing all of these articles. And when someone read a post and goes, "That's not a rule in volleyball," the entire house of cards came crumbling down and it cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. They basically don't exist anymore. So it can be, you're going to get caught at some point, and that's the danger with it. So you can use AI as long as you read and rewrite whatever you write so that it still sounds like you. Just don't publish anything that you haven't read. That's a guarantee that you'll get caught. There are certain things that ChatGPT does to watermark content. There are certain words that it uses that normal people don't use, and everyone gets different ones. So I get the word ponder a lot. Never said ponder until ChatGPT started saying it. I only say it when I'm talking about ChatGPT. It also uses the words in the ever-changing digital world or the ever-changing this. It loves to start with that specific structure and landscape. It uses landscape with me a lot. For other people, get realm. I never get realm. So not only does it use these different unnatural words, it uses different ones for different people. So it's putting things in there that make it kind of detectable so it can catch its own content. You have to be careful because if I can push a button and write a blog post and you can push a button and write a blog post, that means we've created a commodity with no value because anyone could push that button. So you have to add value or something to whatever you create. And even as I craft content with ChatGPT and can write an amazing blog post, I still put a lot of element into it. And you can even see this. A simple way to think of this is people who do like AI generated images. There are really good AI generated images and there's absolute trash. A lot of people post trash images that always look wet or melty because they will generate one image and post the first image. It's the laziest thing you can do. Everyone knows what you're doing and it damages your reputation every time you do it. And yet I see hundreds of people do it every single day on every single social network because they care more about getting it done fast than perception. And it doesn't feel good for me to send you something for you to read that I didn't write and I didn't even read. So that's a way of saying my time is more important than yours. And that's one of the fastest way to turn people against you is to say, I'm so important that I created something lazily and I still expect you to consume it as though it was special.
I get that because I've written 6 books all by hand from my head. No AI. And I have a colleague in the industry who's published 6 books, all AI. All 6 are AI and positioned herself as an expert. And I looked at some of the content and I'm reading this and I'm like, this doesn't even make sense into our space. It doesn't translate into what we do. So I do think people are getting lazy. They figured out a way to circumvent the system, if you will. But what I'm hearing you say is you can use AI as a tool, just add your own wording into it, change the words out, make it your own, and put some things in there about yourself, and not just, hey, here's my blog post. I'm just going to dump it in there because eventually you're going to get caught doing that.
You're definitely going to get caught. And the content should always be at least 50% you. So if you write the blog post, then ChatGPT did it. If ChatGPT writes it, then you have to edit it. That's how you can stay safe. And I think of this as the dollar bill rule. If you go to a bank with a dollar bill that's been ripped in half, as long as you have 51% or more of the dollar bill, they'll give you a new dollar bill. Because the other one, someone can't turn in the other 49%. It's not enough. And that's one of the kind of rules that I live by. And you have to create a policy of what does good enough mean. So the danger is that a lot of people we think we have a different measure of good enough for when we're creating versus consuming. So you have to say to yourself, if someone else wrote this book and I was reading it, how would I feel about them? If someone else wrote this blog post, how would I respond? So you want to make images or content, and there's different lines that you can use. One of the lines is stop the scroll. So I want to make something interesting enough that people scrolling through Instagram will stop. That's what some people I know use as their line. I try to create content that I'm proud of, and it doesn't have to be super proud, right? It just has to be enough that I go, I think this is good. Like this is something that I have an element of pride in, and that will stop you from cutting that corner. Because sometimes you go, well, it's good enough. And when you say that, you enter a race to the bottom. And we're seeing right now a lot of really big brands devastating their reputations by posting AI generated content. One of the fastest ways to make an enemy is to trick them. So there's nothing that's more upsetting. Imagine how you would feel if you realized right now there was a glitch and you realized I was just an AI video, not a person. You would be more than upset. You would hate me because that's the natural human response to being tricked, is to say, this person who tricked me is, I hate that they're my enemy. So you can actually, we're going to see a lot of brands who are messing around in this area get into a lot of trouble because when people catch you, and they always eventually do, like what do people say about every movie right now? They always go, "Oh, I hate CGI." It's not true. They hate bad CGI. And really interesting, biggest movie last year was Top Gun. Everyone they go, what do they say about Top Gun? No CGI, no CGI. Top Gun was 96% CGI. Only
Oh,
4% of it
wow.
was people. Every single plane in that movie, CGI. They did fly in planes. They flew in a different type of plane. So every single plane you see, they took the plane they were in and put a different plane on top of it. They never flew in that exact model. So every single plane, every action scene. But why did everyone like that movie? Because they did good CGI. That's the secret. People say they don't like CGI. It should mean they don't like bad CGI. So in the same way, I've seen before when if someone leaves a comment on a post you write on social media and then they realize it's an AI generated post, I have seen people get enraged by that, by like, how dare you leave an AI generated post? And because it's what you're really saying is, oh, I thought I could trick you. I don't care enough about your content to actually read and respond, but I thought I could trick you into thinking that I did. So a lot of my clients, one of the things they ask about is like doing AI social media or having AI respond to your comments. And I was like, very dangerous area because you can post something that will damage your brand forever. And even if you go, oh, the AI did it, it's an unacceptable excuse. It doesn't work. And the comments is where you find out something is wrong. People will say, "Oh, we noticed this was wrong about your blog post, or you misspelled this, or something is wrong." So if you're not reading any of the comments, you might miss the canary in the coal mine. And also, that's where you miss a lot of big client opportunities or project opportunities. So the purpose of social media is to actually have a two-way communication with your audience. If you don't care about what people are saying, you just want to speak and not listen back, then just post to social media and don't even bother responding to comments. It's better to not do it than to pretend you're doing it and just do that. But the real value of social media is that people will say things to you. And the real reason people like social media is that if you make a good enough comment, the person will respond. Like that's the dream of social media. Is that if I make a good enough comment on whatever celebrity or person, or famous person's post, they might respond to me or retweet me or any of those things. And that's the magic. So when you take that away, the magic disappears and the value plummets.
Hmm, that's very interesting. So you have a program right now, right, to learn ChatGPT. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I teach basically how to take every little task you do as part of a job and accelerate it so that, and the approach is really to look at each task and say, where is the efficiency loss? Where am I doing non-revenue generating tasks? So a really simple example is a lot of people want to have ChatGPT write their emails or an AI write the emails and respond to emails for them. And this is a terrible idea. One of the many things I tell people don't do. This is a feature that Gmail's adding and a lot of other ones are adding, and LinkedIn's adding it to DMs. If you've ever seen the suggested response from an AI, it's always terrible. A better use case is to use an AI to sort your emails. So I receive hundreds of emails per day. I need to respond to between 3 and 7 of those emails. The rest of them, there's kind of 4 categories. There's emails that I need to have just for record keeping. There's emails that are notifications, like a bill is coming in. So I want to know and read those. I don't have to do anything. And there's emails that like are important enough that I want them to be, I need to read them all today and know about them, but that's it. I don't need to respond. They're notifications. For example, the notification about our meeting, I got a reminder. I need to see that, but I don't need to do anything other than see it. And then there's messages I need to respond to. So only the top category do I actually need to do. So if we sort our emails accurately with a good AI, it saves us a huge amount of time and we don't we don't have that time pressure now where we need AI to do all of our content for us. Most people think that I generate most of my content with AI. I get that all the time. I'm like, no, you're actually talking to me. This is my real voice. If I was using an AI, I would definitely choose a deeper voice. And but I have to over calibrate with authenticity and make up for the fact that I'm an AI person, because people assume as an AI person that I'm going to use AI more than anyone else. When actually I use it less, I'm just very good at it. So really the goal is to do things faster, and especially for entrepreneurs. The real beauty of AI is that you can test ideas fast enough that you don't get trapped into the sunk cost fallacy, which is that you've been working on this for 6 months, it's not working, but rather than say, I've wasted 6 months, you go, I'll just try for 3 more months. Now you've wasted 9 months, and you have to say to yourself, I've wasted 9 months. What do? You're at 4 a.m. in a casino in Las Vegas playing one more hand of blackjack trying to get back to zero. It's the exact same effect. But if you can test an idea in 3 days and the idea fails, you don't care because you haven't invested enough time to become emotionally locked in. That's really, for entrepreneurs and smaller business owners, that's really the magic, because it takes a lot of ideas to find your winner. Most really brilliant entrepreneurs have one and sometimes two good ideas per year. If you're only able to test 2 ideas per year, you'll never hit on a good idea except by luck. But if you're able to test 5 ideas per week as an entrepreneur, that's when you're going to find the winner. So it gives you that real magic ability. So that's what I cover in my training courses. More and more of my business is in the business to business space, helping like larger businesses figure out how to implement AI in a way that avoids like employee sabotage. Because if you tell your staff, we're going to replace you guys with AI, but first we're doing an AI pilot program, they're all going to make sure the AI pilot program fails. I would too, because then you protect your job.
Yeah.
So we need to have a shift to see AI as an accelerant. It's like an Iron Man suit for any employee. It makes every employee faster, smarter, more efficient. But if you take the employee out of it, the suit doesn't work as well either. So it's really a collaborative or cooperative venture. Once we switch to that mindset and start seeing what's possible, that's when you can do the really cool things. So mostly what I teach people, whether it's entrepreneurs or businesses, is how to move most of your time away from non-revenue generating to revenue generating tasks. Like how much time do you spend filling out forms or writing things down or taking notes? Those are great areas where AI can be super helpful. Those are the areas where it really shines. And then you just check the notes to make sure it got it right. Because every once in a while, after a meeting, when I have AI organize the notes, it will write notes about me instead of the other person. And I'll go, no, that's me. Don't, right? So so you still have to check it. But that's really where the magic is.
Awesome. And how can my listeners find you? Where are your products? Where are your trainings? Where can they go to?
If you type the words serve no master into Google, every single search result for the first 100 results is me. So
Oh,
that's where you'll
wow.
find me. Best place, most place I'm the most active is on LinkedIn, and that's at LinkedIn/serve no master. So that's where you'll find me as well. But every single result is me.
That's awesome. And we'll put all those links up for the show notes so people can find you as well when we put this up on social. So, if you had to give our listeners one piece of advice on how to unpause their life, since you're in Thailand and living your best life, give them one piece of advice on how to unpause their life.
Stop waiting for the perfect moment because it's never going to happen. There's this belief that we need all the pieces perfectly in position before we make our next move. I need to have this much of my savings. I need to have this much strategy. I need to have these ducks in a row. The ducks will never be in a row. You're capable of more than you realize. When we go into a stressful situation and suddenly we discover, oh, I was able to handle it. Was able to handle when this happened and that happened, this happened. So you will find that you can do it. So if I said to you, let's climb Mount Everest in 6 months, you would start planning. If I said we're climbing Mount Everest tomorrow, you would find a way to make it happen. You would put it together. We would end up there. You'd be talking to people at base camp. Can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? What's the secret? What's this? And we would just make it happen. We have this ability to adapt and overcome that we often forget about within ourselves because we're constantly waiting for someone else to give us permission to take the next move or to take that big leap or to do that other thing. But if you just make that active decision to be like, you know what? I'm capable. I can do more than I realize. I'm going to try. You'll find you're capable of amazing things.
That's awesome. And that's great advice. And I appreciate you coming on the show today, giving us some great advice on ChatGPT and some marketing. So I want to thank everybody for listening. And this is Dr. Cali Estes with Unpause Your Life with my guest, Jonathan Green, today. Tune in for another episode next week.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.